now we've talked about kind of the why for both of you. Let's talk about the how. So Alex, we'll start with you. Can you tell us about how you're approaching the implementation and kind of why this approach made the most sense for your brand?
Of course. So I think for us, we definitely viewed it as something that would deliver benefit, but also I think the hardest part in a lot of these kind of changes is how to take the wider business on the journey with you. And in terms of our how, we knew that we didn't want to necessarily distract or to have too big an impact on our trade, merchandising, and online content teams. We wanted them to really enjoy the benefits of it, adapt where things were changing and learn by that, but actually still be able to be very focused on, delivering the trade and the numbers that we were driving at that time. So part of it was how to incrementally introduce change while maintaining our sort of business as usual. And then the second part was really speed to value and being able to prove the value and our hypothesis of what the difference in terms of site speed that this move to a new headless technology would make. And what we decided was actually we could spend a huge amount of time doing a paper-based discovery exercise and documenting all of our requirements. We've got a pretty big website, and if we did that end to end, it could easily be 2 or 3 months of just desk work to then do the estimation to see how long it would take. But we thought, how could we do this differently? And we met 64 Labs as part of our sort of investigations into PWA kit. They're a US-based partner, and they had a really interesting and novel approach. They already had built the beginnings of what I'd call an accelerator, but actually it was more of a framework in which to get up and running with PWA. And the way that they recommended working based on their experience with other customers was actually to do that discovery through code. So what they call a scopotype, I hope they don't mind me using that, which is essentially scoping and prototyping at the same time. So we basically ran a very intensive 8-week period only focused on our US site, where we built, I'd say, 70% of all of our functionality. So key pages like the PDP, PLP, basket, checkout, navigation, and got them to a point of functional. So all of the changes to the APIs that we needed to do, and recreating our current UX and design within React was achieved in essentially 8 weeks, which gave us a really, really great idea of really how much more work was left to make it shippable to our customers. And that meant that we could then do the remaining amount of work in about 6 weeks, which allowed us, given that we started in July, to get our US version of the site ready in time for November and for peak, which when we talk about sort of payback and the value that we can show, from the difference in site speed, from that improvement in those micro conversions throughout the funnel, meant that the amount of traffic and trade going through the site in that November to January period was so much greater and would give us so much more learning. So it's a bigger risk, but also a bigger reward. So that was our approach to how do we make time, which is our most valuable commodity. I'm sure like everyone feels that way. How do we really make the most of that and get to a place of learning faster? And it did mean, we were really ruthless in terms of our MVP or scrutinizing current features that we have on the site. So things like wish list, which is a common part of an e-com experience. We made choices where that wasn't there, or the way that we delivered our order history and things like that. That wasn't, again, the kind of full realization of how we would necessarily want it to be or how we do it on the site today. But what we were able to learn in terms of how the core customer journey and funnel and pages work and what it meant for changes to the content team and trade team happened so much faster that it then gave us a real springboard for understanding what it would take for the UK, which is our biggest region, and our rest of the world sites. And we're just coming to the end of that now in Q1. So that's been our approach. Definitely just to break it down, find the sort of speed to value and the learnings and really to get started.
It's really interesting because some customers, when they take this phased approach, they start with a region or a site that has less traffic because they want to kind of de-risk it. And it sounds like you guys went for where you felt like you'd have the biggest impact, and that really paid off.
Yeah. And the US is our second biggest market. And we also felt that, site speed, especially for a new customer, we have more new customers in the US, that does have an impact for someone's experience with your brand. And we felt really strongly that we wanted to take the opportunity there and do that as quickly as we could.
Awesome.